introduction to the first alchemical principle of Djhwti, that mind is all. This entire universe is created by your mind. You can change the frequency and live in whatever universe you want. Because you thought that the Lord of the Rings is just fantasy, it's not reality. Star Wars is just... Mind is all. Alright, so what does this mean in practice? And how can I practice this principle? Because when I listen to alchemy, it feels good, and you feel enlightened, and you are in a non-dual state for a moment, but then it disappears. So how can I practice this? I'm going to give you a practice. First, before I start that, I'm just going to say alchemy comes from alchem, which means al-Kemet, that which comes from Kemet. Kemet is the original name of Egypt. So ancient Egypt is known as Kemet. So al-Kemet or alchem is Arabic for that which comes from Kemet, or the ancient mystery sciences that come from ancient Egypt. That is what alchemy means. And these mystery sciences are sciences of gnosis and marifa, and the predecessors of what we call the Sufis today. In ancient times, the Sufis were the alchemists. They studied the entire cosmos as one being, and everything in existence as one being, and you, including that, are this same one being. So these type of deep sciences. And the first principle is that mind is all. So how can we practice this? I'm going to teach you the alchemy of identity. And this is a concrete practice. Think about what you identify as. What are you? I am a man. Okay, so you identify with your gender. Now you're in the dualistic space of gender, the principle of the sun and the moon. Now you're in that space. I am 30 years old, 35 years old, 25 years old. So you identify with your age according to the Gregorian calendar. I am an American. I am an Indian. I am an Arab. I'm an African. Okay, so you identify with the geographic region in which you live that they call a nation. That is your identity. I am a Christian, I am a Muslim, I'm a Jew, I'm a Hindu, I am a Buddhist, I am... Okay, so you identify with the teaching of one of the prophets that you follow. Think about this. What do you identify with? Your identity creates the basis for your reality. If your identity is very narrow, the very parameters in your mind and the thoughts that these parameters generate will be based on your identity. If you expand your identity, you expand the possibility of thought. And you can ascend to higher levels if you expand your identity. So, what would be an example of this? Okay, a very, very, very good example. An African example. If you overly identify with the belonging of your people, I am a Fula, or I am a Wolof. Now your mind operates in a Fula paradigm. You see who are Fulas, who are not Fulas. Your mind starts setting criteria for defining the parameters of Fula and the one who are not Fula. And it becomes a we and them. The Fulas, the Wolof, and so on. This is tribalism. An excessive identification with this starts creating a reality where your tribe, the Fula, is right, and the other tribes are not right. And what does that lead to? Tribal war. Look at Somalia, look at many places in Africa, look at Europe. And this is essentially a kind of nationalism, isn't it? Before we had nations here, we had different tribes or different people. In Sweden, that would be Götar, Svear. The people from the south and the people from the middle, Götar and Svear, and they fought with each other. Then you had the Finns and so on. But anyways, so, okay. Let's expand this identity from Fula to African. No, I don't identify as a Fula. I identify as an African. Now, all of a sudden, African people that come from Wolof tribe, from Mandinka tribe, from Yola tribe, from Yoruba tribe, from Zulu tribe, from Xhosa, sorry, I cannot pronounce that, a beautiful language, tribe, they are a part of you. Now you have expanded your consciousness just by expanding your identity. Huh? Huh? This is the power of identification. Mind is all. One principle is how you identify yourself. So think about that. I'm not telling you, oh, I have to identify as a light being, I'm enlightened. Okay. You want to identify spiritually awakened, then you're in that box. You're looking for other people who like the 7 chakras and, listen to Sadhguru, and there's a small group of people, and then everyone else is not enlightened, isn't it? Now you are the selected few elites who understand this deep concept, and then everyone else, they are other than, they are not awake and they are blind. This is also an identity, isn't it? Think about this just for a second. That sort of parallel I drew with New Ageism. How wouldn't this exist in Islam? This exists in Sufism. This is not an attack. This exists in all traditions. Think about that narrow identity. How is that different from the Christian who thinks that they are saved, and everyone who doesn't accept Jesus as their Lord and Savior is going to burn in eternal hellfire? That's also a we and them. But how is this identity, in a sense, different from the Fula that thinks that we are Fula and everyone else is not a Fula, or we are the European people, we are the white people, and the people that are not white are inferior to us? Isn't this the same thing? Worth thinking about. First Hamitic principle, mind is all. How can you practice this? By contemplating on what you identify as. Hopefully this is helpful. Assalamu alaikum.